And Assistant Democratic Leader James Clyburn joins me now from South Carolina. Welcome. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about these negotiations, because Ruth Marcus from the Washington Post was reporting earlier on our program that in the initial talks staff to staff during the so-called holiday break, that there was no give at all from the Republicans in their initial counteroffer to the White House, no give at all on an extension of the debt ceiling. Where do you stand if there's no give on that? You know, how do you avoid this crisis?
Well, I would hope that those reports are erroneous. The fact of the matter is, I think that we have vetted that with the American people. We have now had a very definitive election, and I think the American people spoke very loudly as to the approach they would like to take. And we know where the president was in the debt ceiling talks last year or earlier this year, and the American people have come down on the side of the president. So I would hope that those reports are not accurate. When it comes to the other kinds of compromises, I think that Democrats are ready to do surgical cuts in order to meet the president's goals. I would hope that the Republicans, and from what I hear, I'm encouraged that Republicans are now ready to get beyond this pledge, keep us from doing our work in the super committee, and do what is necessary to get our country moving forward again. So those reports, though I have heard of them, I just have a hard time believing that they're all that accurate.
Does there need to be a meeting with the president this week to get things reinvigorated? Are you expecting to go to the White House this week?
Well, I think the president will be meeting with the leadership of both sides this week. I understand that he was on the phone with Speaker Boehner over the weekend. All of that is a very, very good sign. I saw Eric Cantor on this network this morning, and I was very pleased with the fact that he says he will respond to his constituents rather than to Grover Norquist. That's the kind of attitude that we need going into this. And I think that you will find from Democrats that we want to take a look at things that we could do to Medicare and Medicaid, means testing. Though we do means test Medicare now, I think we ought to expand means testing. And I really believe that we could take a hard look at the way we compute the consumer price index in order to get to where we need to be. I heard Senator Corker on your program earlier. I was very, very pleased with that. In fact, I was wondering which one of us or where, because he is exactly where I am on all these issues. I never thought that would be the case.
Well, House and Senate, Republican and Democrat, how about that for progress? Wish we could negotiate it right here. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think so. It's kind of tough for us members of the House to agree with senators on anything, but I think that most of what I've heard over the weekend indicate that senators, I understand 10 or 12 of them, are ready to move on revenues, and that's a good sign. And I think that there are House members who are ready to move as well. So if the Senate, which has already passed a plan that I think will work very well, if we could get the House to vote on it, maybe the House can come up with its own plan and then get to a conference. We ought to be able to do that before we go home for Christmas. And I don't mean staying here until Christmas Eve to do it.
And finally, do you think that you and the Republican leadership, you and Boehner's operation, can do a joint whip operation to try to get the votes? That you're going to have to put up some Democratic votes to help him with his House Republican caucus.
We've always been willing to do that. I have not discussed that with Senator Hoyer yet, but I know Senator well enough to know that he would love to do a joint whip operation on this. This is the kind of issue that we ought to join hands, and I don't mean this sort of the way it sounds, and jump over the cliff together or pull back together, whatever it might be. Let's join hands. Let's have a a joint whipping operation. Let's come up with 300 or 400 votes on this issue, which I think we could do if we really were to get serious about doing the surgical cuts and about finding the kind of revenue that we could get from wall savings, from the upper end tax cuts. I remember what we did on the super committee. It's not hard to do. Senator Corker is absolutely correct. It is not very hard to do. We just have to be willing to go ahead and do it and not worry about who gets the credit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leaders. You're coming, I guess, tomorrow for when the
Yes, I will be in tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much
so much for having
us today from South Carolina. And up next.